All right, a quick little video explaining reflections. I have 3 examples here of increasing complexity. So here we have something that kind of looks like the letter E. I'll zoom on it a little bit. And so you can see that little blue dotted line is the mirror. So remember we did our little thing with drawing our name and say what would that look like in the mirror. And so I think the key concept for you to understand is each point or any object is going to be as far into the mirror. So if you can think of the depth of the mirror, it will be as far into the mirror as it is away from the mirror. So you can try this yourself. Go stand next to the mirror, and you looking at yourself will be the same distance on the other side of the mirror as you are from the mirror. And you can get really close to the mirror, and you can keep going until you actually touch, and then your nose touching the mirror will be the same distance on the other side of the mirror, which is 0. And so that's the example we have here. What if there's an object that's being reflected across a mirror when it's touching? So I like the letter, everything, so we can orient it. And I'm going to do the image in red in each of these examples. So the easiest way is just to take it point by point. So let's start with A. A is 3 away, so we're just going to go 3 on the other side, and we call this A, and that little mark means prime. And then B, touching the mirror, B prime is going to be in the same spot. C, you'll notice, is 2 away. C prime, and we can just keep going. And this may seem like more complicated than it needs to be, but once you start getting into more geometric shapes, it can be really useful to break it down like this. And then we can sketch our image. And that's what the reflection of E will look like when the mirror is as it's drawn. Okay, next example, we have E, but this is like you standing a little bit away from the mirror. So again, everything's going to be the same distance away. So A this time is 5 units away. So we'll count 5 and get A prime. B is 2 units away. So you can see that it kind of flips. And in fact, that's one of the words that is sometimes used for reflection, is it flips across the mirror depending on where that mirror happens to be. So there's C prime, D prime, F prime, and E prime. All right, so there's our mirror image when it's away from the mirror. And then the final example, if the mirror is sort of askew, this is probably the more complicated one, obviously. And so you could get complicated depending on what that angle of the mirror is compared to the object. But the simplest way is just to kind of look at diagonally how far you have to go. So I'm just going to look at A in detail. So how far is it from here to here? Well, that's 2.5 diagonals. So I'm going to erase that because we don't really want that. 2.5 diagonals. So then we have to go 2.5 diagonals the other side of it. So 1/2, 1, 2. And so A prime is going to end up here. I'm going to show that in a different color. So it went there, and then there. That's the reflection. And then you can do this with all of them. B is 1 diagonal, so it's there. C, 1, 2, 3.5, so 1/2, 1, 2, 3. And what you'll find is it may not even be obvious right off the start, but it'll all come together. That was D prime. So just to sort of show you how it's coming together, you gotta make sure you connect things the same way. E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. So half, 1, 2. I'll make sure I do this right. I'm going to draw it another color. So here's our E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. So 1, half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then F will end up right here. So there's F prime and E prime. So what you can see if you really look at it, and you can kind of turn it sideways, or I'm turning it sideways, but you can't see me doing that, is each point is perpendicularly, if that's a word, the same depth into the mirror as the object was away. And so the orientation seems to change, but really the whole thing was just flipped around the diagonal of the mirror. So that's the more complicated one. I'm not sure if you're going to get into that right away, but we will see some of those examples soon. I hope this was useful.